Good morning, everybody. I'm just taking a minute to make sure this posted. Welcome to a PCS Coffee Talk. It's been a minute, right? It's been a while since we've had a PCS Coffee Talk. I think the last one was back in March before we went to Fort Campbell. And there has been a lot of things that has happened since then. So okay, we've got everything shared. Hope you guys got your coffee. We got a lot of things to really kind of talk about and discuss today. First, we are a month, less than a month now from peak season taking off. We are gearing up for that. May 15th kicks off peak season of 2025 or 2026. Oh gosh, guys, it's 2026. So we are less than a month away. I obviously need more coffee to drink today. But we're expecting the season to be a good season. Compared to last year, it's going to be a great season. We know the rates have increased. We know more families are looking at doing their PPMs. And so we know that there's just going to be a much better experience this year compared to last year. We're going to have more oversight, more accountability. The moving companies have really taken the time to kind of done training preparation. And so it should be a overall really great year. We know things happen. There's still going to be issues along the way. Not everything is going to go perfect, but it should go better. And so that's the excitement we have, is that things are going to be better. I mentioned last time we had a PCS Coffee Talk was before we went to Fort Campbell. That was at the end of March. We went and did a class out at Fort Campbell. That was a phenomenal class. I loved getting to meet everybody there. And then last week we were out at Fort Leavenworth, did another phenomenal class out there. And Fort Leavenworth is just one of my favorite places. We've had the opportunity to be stationed there a couple of times. And so to me, that is one of the places that feels like home. And so it's so good to be back and to see old friends and to see friends and others that I had met during our last time there that are now preparing for their PCS and having them in class with me. And so it was just a really great, fun time. Our next class is in a couple of weeks. In 2 weeks, we'll be down at Goodfellow Air Force Base with the Spouses Club, giving a class there. So if you are in that area, check that out. Month of May, we're going to be all over Virginia. And then this summer, we are going to be heading towards probably JBLM, Wright Pat, Fort Carson, Fort Hood. We will look at MacDill in September, and then NAS Jacksonville then in October as well. If there's enough interest at other places, guys, I'm always happy to go and see what I can do about getting a class there. So if you're at a location that I didn't mention that you feel like needs to have a class of its own, please comment below, please reach out, and let's see what we can do to make that class happen for your location, because I would absolutely love to come and share. Let's see here. We've got a couple of JTR updates. The JTR Chapter 5 is the piece that governs our entitlements and the the financial aspect of our moves. And so there's two big updates to be aware. The first one we shared about it is homeschool equipment now qualifies as pro gear. Natalie Mack, who is the spouse that kind of spearheaded that, I've been talking about the homeschool equipment and spouse pro gear stuff for many years, and the services were always, let's research it, let's study it, let's do polls, let's figure that out, and everything. But Natalie is the one who kind of did all the research, all the studying, and everything, and kind of really took it and pushed it over the edge. And so super proud of her. Let me get this link dropped into the comments for everybody. There we go. That way you guys can go and easily have access to it. So the JTR Chapter 5, like I said, governs everything. So first big thing, homeschool equipment is now considered pro gear. Appendix A mentions it being considered pro gear. I've heard from several families that they've gone to, and it's dated as of April 1st. So even if you moved April 2nd, April 3rd, you can go back and get your homeschool gear added on. The big thing with it is that we've heard from several families as like, hey, I've gone to my transportation office, tried to claim the homeschool equipment. They've denied it. They've told me no. Take a copy of the JTR. Here's one of the things that I found over there the last many years. The people in the offices are usually the last people to know of any changes. They're the last ones to be aware of any changes and of anything that is happening. And so the most important thing you can do is take a copy of the JTR, pull it up on your phone, and show them, hey, this was updated on this date, and this is what it says now. A lot of them been there for years. They think they know everything in the JTR, that nothing changes, nothing updates. It's updated. It's there. Take that. If you continue to have issues, reach out to me. Happy to run things up and through my channels. The second update for the JTR deals with pet expenses. And it's not really changing a whole lot to it. It's just adding some wording there for some clarification. So the wording added is that it now says a service member, and the added part, or service member's dependent may be authorized. So the added phrase of or service members dependent is what is changed. That is added. That is in there now. And the reason it's in there now is because we've seen several families that got denied things being able to be reimbursed because it was in the spouse's name and not the service member's name. The spouse made the vet appointment, the spouse went and got the health certificate, the spouse coordinated the pet shipping, and so it was the spouse's name that was on the invoice and on the things. And so offices were denying it because the regulation had said a service member on orders may be authorized. And so they added the phrase or service members dependent, so that way when those receipts and invoices get turned in, you can still be reimbursed even if it's in the spouse's name. And so that was causing a lot of issues. So that is now in there. That is updated. So if you are on orders, you are shipping your pets, you are whatever pet expenses you have, CONUS is up to $550. OCONUS up to $2,000, but it no longer matters whose name is on the invoice or on the receipt or on the appointment slip, whatever it is, because it now clarifies that a service member's dependent may be authorized. So that clears that piece up. So if you're shipping pets, if you're traveling with pets, PCSing with them, it doesn't matter whose name is on it. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about today is scams. Excuse me. They happen every year. Every year we see some scam of some kind take place, and so it's really being able to educate families and get ahead of it and try to make people aware of what is happening, what could potentially be happening, so that way you guys don't end up in that situation trying to navigate through it. So the first one of the year is that there was a service member who they were PCS, they were ready for delivery. Their company reached out and said, hey, let's deliver it. And this was the military contracting their move. This wasn't them doing a PPM. So they got a phone call saying, hey, we're ready to deliver your stuff, but we need $3,000 to deliver it. And thankfully, the service member has PCS enough times that they thought, this sounds really weird. We've never had to pay to have our stuff delivered before when the military handled it. Why, am I going to have to pay now? So, that service member said, hey, I will call you back, all of that. So they went and they contacted their transportation office and was like, hey, I got this phone call. They said I had to pay them $3,000. That seems fishy. Help me figure out what's going on. They found out there was I don't really know what happened. I can only assume the company might have been hacked or information leaked in some manner that somebody knew the service member had stuff that was moved and that they knew the moving company's name because they sounded like the moving company and all of that, hoping to get a little quick payday type of deal. Found out that was a whole issue. And so the transportation office contacted the moving company directly, and they were able to get delivery coordinated, and the service member thankfully paid nothing. And so that's always one of the big concerns, is that when people are just like, oh, I have to pay something, I'm like, of course I'll pay something to get my stuff delivered. And so that's always a a super big concern. So if you have a moving company saying like you owe us money, and the military contracted this moving company saying you owe us money to deliver, stop right there, contact your transportation office and handle things through their channels, because you should not be paying money in that case. The only time that you will pay money to a moving company when contracted through the military is when your storage entitlement is expiring and it transfers from the military's responsibility to your responsibility. So storage in transit, you get 90 days. You can request a 90-day extension. If for some reason you need to leave your things there for a little longer, you can, but then you'll become responsible for the payment. If you have stuff in non-temp storage and your stuff has to be there a little bit longer because you're waiting on housing and your entitlement's running out, it may transition to your cost, and then you're responsible for the payment. In either case, there's going to be communication between you, the moving company, and the military, giving you notice that your storage entitlement is expiring, giving you notice of what steps you need to take and to do all that. That is the only time that through a military contracted move, you're going to have to pay anything. Okay. So only time. We see every year scams happen when we just posted about one recently. Family gets on a website, they Google moving, they get onto a website, they input their information, they get lots of calls from companies, saying like, hey, we can give you a quote. And they're just like, I don't know why 20 companies are calling me. I only went to one website. It was a broker. It was a, where, they say they're going to find you the best rate. So they give your information then to multiple companies who then contact you to get the rate. One family reached out to a company. I'd have to scroll back. Titan Moving Company. There we go. I reached out to them talking about their move. They decided they were going to, just rent a U-Haul and do it themselves. And then the company kept calling them repeatedly, every time from a different number. They were blocking the number, moving on, all of that. One time they even called and said, hey, we're your moving company. We need to set up and verify payment. Again, very scamish. Thankfully, they did not pay anything and was just like, we're not using you, like move on. A moving company should not be asking for a large deposit upfront. They should not be. Any moving company, they will take your stuff depending on if you have a binding or non-binding contract. If it's set at, you're going to pay this much for your move, regardless of what your weight is, or, we're going to pay it. Our virtual survey said you have 15,000 pounds. So even, this is what you'll cost. Others will be non-binding. So you'll pay on your actual weight. So like they'll pick up your stuff, go weigh it, and say, here's your weight tickets, adjusted based on weight. You owe this much, but you should not be paying a deposit of any kind before services even begins. If a company says you need to pay $5,000 for us to do whatever before movement starts, do not. Move on to somebody else. The big thing is utilizing the FMCSA website, and let me get that pulled up here really quick so I can drop that FMCSA, there we go, into the comments as well. The big thing, if you're going to use a moving company, go to this website, look up and put the name and see if they are registered, what they're authorized for, if they have insurance on file. Those are the super big things, because here is the deal with that. One, if anybody is loading your stuff and taking it with them, they should have a U.S. Department of Transportation number, the U.S. DOT, and they should have a motor carrier number. The motor carrier number is the number that authorizes them for transporting household goods across state lines for compensation. There are a couple, and I have a post that's going to be scheduled this afternoon going into detail on this section, okay? There are several, at least one that I know of heavily through the military community that has a trailer, rents it out to families. You pack and load yourself, and then they transport the trailer for you, and then you unload the trailer yourself. They are not registered in the FMCSA, which means that they don't have insurance and liability stuff on record with the federal regulations. They are technically a motor carrier for hire, which means that they should be registered, and they're not. So if something happens where that stuff gets broken into, where it catches fire and you lose it, or you have some sort of issue, there is going to be very little that federal regulations and the FMCSA can step in and help you with. It's going to be a civil suit mess that you're going to have to navigate through. Utilize the FMCSA website to verify. If you can't find them on there, maybe ask them like, hey, are you registered on FMCSA? Maybe they're registered under a different name and then doing business as whatever it is that you found them as. Ask them if they have their insurance and liability. If they can't provide it and it's not up to date, move on to somebody else. Okay. The last thing I ever want to see is for a family to end up in a scam situation or a situation that they thought was great and it was not. If you find a moving company and you're curious, you're not quite sure if they're legit or not, you can't find them on FMCSA, reach out to me, provide me their website. I'm happy to go through it and look at the red flags, happy to do the deep dive to see if they are legit or not, happy to reach out to my industry contacts to see if they know anything about them. But I want you guys to be protected, and I want you guys to ensure that you're not going to be in that scam situation. Let me see here. A couple of comments. So from Kelly, big win for so many families homeschool compared to the rest of the population. Absolutely. And this has been an ongoing battle talking about homeschool equipment and things. It's been a hot topic every year. And unfortunately, we got to the point where they got so restrictive with what's counted as pro gear because that entitlement had been abused in the past. But it's definitely a huge win. And I know, it's 500 pounds, but that 500 pounds can make the difference between making it or having to. I'm sorry, my dog just sneezed over there. It can make the difference for a family, which is huge. And then Ashley, can't wait to have you at Wright Pat. I can't wait to be there either. Wright Pat, Dayton's my hometown. I grew up there, spent 18 years there in Dayton till I went off to college. And so I'm always excited to be there and be back. But that's definitely going to be a really great class as well. And then the last thing, guys, is because we're nearing the end of the month, let me get this link here for you. Our sponsor for this month, List and File. If you don't know List and File, it's another military spouse-owned business. Liz has created, they're like binder inserts, like binder tab inserts that can go, oh, what happened? Let me try this again. It's telling me it did not post. They're binder insert tabs that kind of go in your PCS binder and kind of keep you organized. There's like a checklist on them to make sure you've got stuff. So there's like one for your vehicle. Do you have your insurance, your registration? There's one for like your insurance, like do you have your renter's insurance or personal property, all of that stuff. There's one in there for like your housing stuff, like your move out checklist, your move in checklist, a place to put like your lease or anything. I have a set somewhere. But it just helps to keep you really organized. And so I absolutely love her binder inserts. So definitely go check them out. She's got them not just for PCSing, but she's got multiple other pieces too. So she's got one, it's like the daily life binder that helps you with just like general planning of your stuff. So like for your identity, education, your finances, health information, legal information. There's even one that she has that is for military kids specifically. It's like the education binder, where it's kind of like an about me sort of binder, where they kind of put in like their personal information about their new school, their previous school records, any special programs and things like that. And the great thing about the kids binder is like when you're transitioning to a new school and you have a new teacher and you want them to know something about your kid, especially if you're going to a location that isn't a heavy military populated, maybe you're going to recruit command, maybe you're going to a National Guard post, maybe you're going to be on one of those just random weird assignments that happen. This is a great way where you can be able to like hand this to your kid's teacher and say, here's some information that I want you to know about my kid because they're new to the school, they're new to the area, and they don't have friends yet because we just arrived. And it's a way for your teacher to learn about the kid when your kid is the new one to the school. And so I love what she has done with that. So definitely go check out List and File. Um, that is all I've got today, guys. Like I said, we're gearing up for peak season. We're less than a month away. I would love to hear if you guys are PCSing this year, where you're at in the process. Are you excited about your move, or are you dreading it because you're going to some place you don't like? You're going to Podunk maybe. Are you doing a PPM? Are you letting the military handle it? Do you have issues, problems, questions, anything that we can step in and help with? We'd absolutely love to help you with that. So if you guys got questions, please reach out. We're always here. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great PCS. I hope your prep work is going well. I hope it's the best move you've ever had. And we are here if you guys need us. So we will see you guys next time.